Welcome back to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Murph, and I'm going to talk to you today about what I feel like is going on in the market with cryptocurrency right now. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, Cardano, Chainlink, Polkadot, and my thoughts in general. We've had this big pullback, and I know it's scary going through these. Now, some of you are new, and some of you have been around for a long time. If you've been around for a long time, you've been through very big pullbacks before. If you're new, these big pullbacks can be scary, especially if you just put a bunch of money in right at the top, which is so frequent when you're new at this. It's the learning process everyone goes through, and then you see a big pullback and it freaks you out, and that would be normal. And it's also normal in this market. I am going to give you some context and show you some historical context related to how this happens even in a bull market, and share with you what's happened in the past, as well as I want to talk specifically on where I think a lot of the money flow is going to be going in the coming 2 months. So without further ado, let's get the party started. Join me, Rainmakers. Well, welcome to crypto. It's a wild ride, isn't it? And so you're here, you're at least in the right place, right time, working on the right things. Now, crypto can create life-changing wealth as long as you're making good decisions on good projects, as well as your timing, because timing is so important, and your timing has to be good for you to do well. Because if you buy the best project in the world and you buy it right at the top and then you sell at the bottom, doesn't matter how good the project is. So timing is everything, wouldn't you agree? So let's talk about timing and overall what's going. So I'm going to bring up our charts on Bitcoin. And here is what the Bitcoin chart looks like. So we had this big run up since really July. Actually, if we go back to the bottom, it bottomed out in March of last year and has gone absolutely crazy. So you could have bought Bitcoin actually for $4,000 and under way back then. And where has it gone since then? Well, we're at $62,000. So have you missed it? That's a 15x. Have you missed it? Probably not. Now, what's funny is if you're brand new to Bitcoin, there is zero chance you would have bought here, because that's when they were saying Bitcoin was going to die. So to look back at this and say, I could have bought here and then sold here, number one, you wouldn't have predicted the very bottom. And so most likely you would have passed on it when it was at some of its best prices. And you could have bought it as cheap as $3,300 here. And likely, when you're new, you don't sell here either. And the reason you don't sell here is because this is when everyone's flooding in, and it seems like it's going to keep going up for forever until all of a sudden it doesn't. So then you go through this period of a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or what we call FUD, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, is it going to zero? Because it was all the way at 65,000, and then it came down and it dipped all the way down here to 46,000. Now, this is one of the big reasons I don't recommend anybody new, even somebody modestly experienced, anybody but somebody exceptionally experienced, trades with leverage. Because if you were trading with leverage and you bought here and you had a leverage trade in and you put it in here for long, you absolutely got wiped out when this happened. Now, if you bought here and you just wait, most likely you're going to be more than fine, and it's totally fine. And this is on the Bitcoin chart. We'll look at some of the other charts. But speaking about Bitcoin, because it really does set the trends, let's look way back to 2013. Notice in 2013, in the early part of the year, we had this massive run up. And if you think about the numbers here, so right on the 1st of January, it was worth about, I don't know, what's that, $13. Went all the way up to 264, so at 20x up until like mid-April. And then, oh my gosh, just a few days later, it absolutely crashed. Stayed pretty low all the way till July. Before then, it went on this absolutely parabolic run. So what you see here is an early spring run-up, as well as some trading sideways, and there was still plenty of momentum left. The reason why I use 2013, because I don't feel like this year is going to play out exactly like 2013, but I do feel like we have this early year run that a lot of this happened what seemed to me as early in the year. And so when you have an early run like that, it does have room to come back down. And in essence, what usually happens over time is it trades sideways. It doesn't necessarily build in price yet. So trade sideways for a while, and then it has its massive run. And so that's what I'm expecting. It may play out different than that because every year doesn't play out, or every cycle, 4-year cycle doesn't play out exactly the same, but they often rhyme. And so when people say, it's totally over, what I tell them is, it's totally normal that it's doing this. And what I'm always asking myself is, what projects can I be positioned in that are going to give me the biggest returns over the next couple months? So the ones I've been looking hard at and investing in are, number one, Cardano. And we'll talk about Cardano, why. And so a lot of it is, I'm a fundamental type of person, fundamental analysis. So there's technical analysis that is everything you can see on the charts and just looking at the charts. Fundamental analysis is everything else. So I do understand technical analysis and I look at the technical analysis. However, I'm a fundamental analysis investor. So what is going on behind the scenes? What are the fundamentals of Cardano that makes me think it'll do well? First of all, it's been trading sideways for quite a while now, since actually the end of February. And what happens is things build up momentum like a rubber band being pulled back, and then you release it and it totally flies, right? So I see that a lot on these good projects. So they had some big updates in Cardano and everyone got excited, and it ran all the way up from, here in November, you could have been buying it for 8 cents. And it went all the way up to $1.50, which was its previous all-time high from the previous cycle. Hit a wall of resistance. Bam, bam, bam. Kept hitting that wall of resistance. Couldn't break through. Came back, so it traded sideways all this time, built some momentum, and then bam, broke through that wall of resistance, is now treating that wall of resistance as support. And if you think about what's coming up, is there's a lot of projects starting to build on Cardano, even though smart contracts aren't yet enabled. There's enough information out there that they can get with IOHK and they can figure out what they need to do to build it right, so they can start working on development. I think another thing that's really going to happen that will bring so much momentum to Cardano is as they release their smart contract capabilities, what is going to happen is that there's going to be a flood of projects that leave the high Ethereum fee blockchain and come over to Cardano. So say, for example, you have one of these DeFi projects, and I won't name a specific one, but say they work with Cardano behind the scenes, and once Cardano is up, they make it so that the people that are like locking up liquidity on their platform, they make it so that they can easily switch over to the Cardano network and that their fees go down tremendously. Charles has been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. Also, he knows Ethereum very well because he was one of the original co-founders. And even then, over the past 2 years, he worked with Ethereum Classic to make sure he was really up to date on the Ethereum virtual machine. My guess is in preparation for being able to do just exactly something like this. So not only is it looking at what projects are going to be building on Cardano, it's looking at which projects are going to move over. Because if you noticed, the Ethereum chain is just completely untenable until they can increase the number of transactions per second that can happen, as well as vastly decrease the Ethereum fees, because they're just crazy, which has been driving a lot of momentum to the Binance Smart Chain, also to Polygon, also to Yuan Chain, and other layer 2 solutions, because these kind of fees are just terrible. All right, so where else is the momentum going to go? DOT. Now, which momentum are we talking about? So what's funny is new money continues to come into the crypto space all the time. The question is, where is it going? And what are people going to be selling in and moving to? So there continues to be new money increase. In fact, one of the big things that has brought new money into crypto is Doge. And part of the reason is because Doge is on Robinhood. So you have a lot of people that have Robinhood accounts and they're buying Doge and Bitcoin because that's what they can. As they really start to dip their toes in the water, they start to learn about things like fundamentals, and they start to realize that it depends on their education level, but the higher their education level, the more they realize that there are other projects out there that actually are changing the world in better ways. Their technology accomplishes a lot, and so they move past Doge to other things. And so we'll see some of that money shift, as well as some of the money in the market, as well as new money coming in, about to start heading towards Kusama and Polkadot because their parachain auctions are coming up. That's going to bring a lot of momentum to Kusama and Polkadot because I think that these parachain auctions, and the way they work is if you want to build on the dot ecosystem, you either have to have a parachain yourself to connect into the ecosystem or be working with somebody who does. And in order to get a parachain, you have to win the auction, and you're bidding in how much dot you're going to stake for 2 years. So my guess is these parachains are going to start going for a lot of Polkadot. And all the projects that are bidding on these parachains are going to go through a mad scramble to get more Polkadot because they need to win the parachain auction. And then once somebody wins it, that dot gets staked for 2 years. So the available supply of Polkadot is all of a sudden going to go way down as these projects, number one, some are staking them, but the rest are acquiring more in order to ensure they can get and win a parachain auction. They'll have a parachain auction every 2 weeks, but I think that's going to fuel a lot of momentum into Polkadot. So I did buy more during this dip because I thought, well, we are closer than ever. Now, unfortunately, my buy order was in a little bit below this. I was really bummed, so I had to fill it at a price higher than that. I was like, darn it, I just missed getting it filled. Crap. So I end up paying about 20% more, unfortunately for me. Another place that I think the momentum is going to go to is Chainlink. Now, Chainlink hit some massive momentum last year and went all the way to $21 from really low numbers. In fact, Chainlink climbed for like 18 months straight to this. It was one of the best performers of 2019, 2020. And so it topped out recently at $52, and then it's been retracing. But I do feel like Chainlink, a lot of this momentum and money that's coming in will be directed at Chainlink in the coming month to 2 months. In fact, it just recently popped here, went up, slight retrace with just the down news, but I think it has plenty of room to run. All right. Another thing that I look at is how are some of these projects, especially these bigger ones like Cardano and Polkadot, how are they performing versus ETH? Now, Cardano did really well versus ETH and had this massive run up. So if you had Cardano and then sold into Ethereum, you did very well because as this is ADA's price versus Ethereum. So if you had sold your Cardano here into Ethereum, then as your Ethereum grew in value, you could have bought way, way more Cardano. But now you're looking at this and like I'm trying to decide, do I hold Cardano or do I hold Ethereum? Well, at these prices, I definitely sell my Ethereum into Cardano, and that's what I've been doing. I have, unfortunately, almost no Ethereum right now. I say unfortunately because then whenever I try to make transactions on the Ethereum chain, I have to get some Ethereum in order to make sure I have enough, because who knows what the fees are going to be at any given time. Are they going to be $30? Are they going to be $50? Are they going to be $200 like they were the other day? Man, I love the problems Ethereum has solved, but I hate that problem in general. All right, so another one I'm very, very bullish on, and you guys should all be looking at, in my opinion. This isn't financial advice, but I'm a big fan of Ecomi. And it's been retracing for a while, and it hasn't hit as low as I hope it goes. Now, I'm pulling up the daily here, and see this previous resistance here, my guess is going to turn into support, and it's almost there. So if it hits 0.35 cents, in my opinion, that's a fantastic buy. Will it go lower? It could. If it does, I'll buy even more. But at 3.5 cents or 0.35 cents, I feel like that's a good buy. Let's look at the overall market cap of OMI, and I'll tell you why I think it's a good deal. First of all, I noticed last bull run that there was one company and one company only that their token increased during the down market. Do you know what company that was? Binance's token, BNB. So why in the world did BNB go up in value where everything else got slaughtered? Well, it's because Binance was really profitable during the downturn, and they used that profitability to continue to keep their token relevant. And they were flush with cash to make investments in growing not only their exchange, but some other ideas like their Binance Launchpad and some of the other things that they did that then you needed BNB token. And so they were able to keep their token relevant. So now if you're familiar with the Ecomi, they have an app on the phone called the VV app, and they're selling digital collectibles. And they are making a ton of money right now. The question is, when the market turns around, will they still be making a ton of money? And my guess is yes, because they're not depending on massive investors putting $200,000 into the collectibles, because they sell out by the time you can get 4 or 5 of them anyway. So the question is, will people still be buying the collectibles when things turn around? And I think the activity will slow down, but they'll still be selling a bunch. And if you think about their overall infrastructure costs probably aren't extremely high, and so they should still be very profitable even during the downturn. So if they use that well, the token could even go up during the downturn. Now, I don't know if that's going to end up happening, but during this bull market, should their token go up from here? I should believe so. I mean, they're a profitable company. They're making fantastic revenues. Overall, I don't know what their expenses are, but my guess is the company itself is profitable right now and will continue to be during this bull run and possibly even after. And so I do think while everything's running, this should run really well. Now, according to CoinGecko right now, their market cap is under $1 billion. It's 812 million. Now, it did have this amazing run up here from like literally a 200x to here. So I know some people are freaking out because it's doing this retracement, and it does suck when you have bought all the way up here. It especially if you put in a lot of your funds, it's absolutely heartbreaking to go through this. Now, thank goodness this was early enough in the bull run that we should have another leg up or 2 or 3 that should go a lot higher. Now, I don't know if it will. It just is likely to. So just because something is likely to doesn't mean it will. It just often does. So I have been using this downturn to stock up on OMI, and I started stocking up on it at 0.75 cents. I bought some more around half a cent, and then I have a buy order in around 0.35 cents. If it goes lower than that, I will be buying a bunch more, because I imagine that NFTs and gaming are going to come back in focus. Now, that might be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 months from now, because I think coming into focus is a lot of the focus has been, funny enough, on Dogecoin and then like SafeMoon. And then that turned a lot of people into jumping into every pump and dump that was there. And then what happens is a lot of people get burned and they decide, I'm not going to do that again. And then they start moving to more solid projects. And I do think that Cardano, Polkadot, Chainlink, and some of the big ones are going to get a lot of the attention. And then it will move on back to another area. It might be more along the lines of DeFi, but it might be gaming. And if it's not gaming after that, there might be a focus shift to something else, and then it will come back to gaming and NFTs, and when it does, that's when projects like Ecomi will pump. So I want to give you my updated thoughts on where things are at. I do have some awesome AMAs coming with some of the project founders coming up, so stay tuned for those. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because what you get from me is my investor analysis. Now, that's what I'm good at. I hope it's useful to you. If so, you'll subscribe, and if not, you won't. And I would appreciate it, though, if you like the content you're getting, if you hit that like button. What that does is that helps me grow the channel. And by growing the channel, that puts me in touch with all the projects out there. So I'm in touch with some of them. I'd love to be in touch with all of the top projects so that I can frequently have them come on and speak to you, as well as, talk to them on a regular basis about what's going on, so I get good information. Here's the kind of good information I'm after. If you ever notice that sometimes some news comes out, and by the time you hear about it, maybe you're at work and you get home 3 hours later and you hear some news that, was written up in an article, And the project pumps by like 40%. And you're thinking, man, I wish I had known that news sooner. In fact, that kind of news probably has been known by some people for 2 or 3 weeks. That's what I call non-private information. So sometimes there's information that they sign non-disclosures for, they cannot release till an exact certain date, and so you're not necessarily going to find that information out beforehand. However, a lot of times there's information that's known, it can be discussed, it just not until some reporter or somebody writes up in an article, it doesn't hit public awareness. And see, I found as an investor, I wasn't getting that information because I wasn't in communication with all the projects, which is why I started the channel. One of the biggest reasons I started the channel in the first place was to have access to speaking to all those devs. So if you want access to getting that information too, you help me a lot every time you like my videos and if you subscribe to the channel so I can get better information to bring to you, because that better information help us make smarter decisions. Wouldn't you agree? So with that said, I want to thank Manuela who recorded this song for all you rainmakers. And the rainmakers are those that are here working to make it happen. Also subscribing to the channel and supporting this channel and growing so that I can bring you better information. So thank you to all you rainmakers out there. Let's make it happen this year.
Success is falling, flowing like rain. The timing's right, we're getting